video. Can do it.
Assalamu alaikum. A warm welcome to School Matters with me, Sumaya. It's a beautiful evening, Alhamdulillah, and we're into the final quarter of the school year. Educators are wrapping up the curriculum, learners are pushing hard. And our grade 12s, yes, they're just 6 or 7 days away from the final exam. We know it's crunch time and stress levels are high. Don't worry, School Matters has you covered. Well, tonight we continue our special literary edition, and today we focus on English grade 12 examination paper. So stay tuned, relax, and let's make your exam prep a little lighter right here on Radio School Matters. Well, in the CAPS curriculum for grade 12 English language, learners write 3 papers in the final exam. Paper 1 is language in context studies, comprehension, technique, and language skills. Paper 2 is literature, focused on described novels, dramas, and poetry. Paper 3 is writing, that includes essays, transactional writing, and creative pieces. Together, these 3 papers test reading, writing, and critical skills, everything that makes up language ability. Well, this evening on School Matters, we joined by Mrs. INDERMAN. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
From MOWAT Park High School, from Montclair, Durban. Well, she'll be taking us through the matric English exam papers, sharing tips, insights, and what to focus on. So stay tuned, grab your notebooks, and get ready to jot down those golden notes. Thank you so much for coming to School Matters.
Oh, it is only an honor and a pleasure to be here to share some of my insights on the subject. As Sumaya mentioned, I am Mrs. Inderman from Mowat Park, and I am a B.Ed graduate majoring in English and psychology, which I feel is very important in today's day and age, where learners are experiencing a whole range of psychological issues, and this can prevent them from actually excelling in their academics. I am also SACE accredited, and I've been employed with the Department of Education for around 9 years, during which I gained a plethora of experiences and refined my skills as an educator as well. I'm proud to say that I have achieved a 100% pass rate for consecutive years. And last year, Mowat Park did achieve a 99.4% pass rate in the NST examination for English. And I just want to note that Mowat Park High is a school that is home to predominantly Zulu home language speakers. So I think it's quite an achievement for us. And I'm quite happy to share some of my observations and the strategies that can be used to combat the struggles that many students face. But before I get into it, I just like to say a quote by Anatole France, which is 9/10 of education is encouragement. And this actual quote highlights the fact that psychological and emotional impact of education or aspect of education is far more impactful than the formal instruction alone. And if we can get to that emotional space, we will be able to build confidence, inspire curiosity, and give our students the resilience to overcome challenges and pursue their dreams.
Yeah, for everyone, she is going to take over the English, and you're a qualified educator, you're part of the examination, so you know the process, the procedure. Other than being employed 9 years in a government school, you have taught for many, many years in a private institution. So we got the best here only at School Matters, and as tradition goes, we continue tuition for every single paper. We try to cover all the papers. Well, so you can start and commence.
Thank you once again, Sumaya. And I'm really excited to support our matric learners as they approach one of the most important exams of their schooling career. So, matric's listening, I suggest you grab a pen, as Sumaya mentioned, and some paper, as I am about to share with you some insightful tips on how to overcome challenges you may have experienced in your English home language papers in the trial exam. So, as Sumaya mentioned, English home language comprises of 3 papers. Paper 1, which is the comprehension and language, and this deals with comprehension, summary writing, visual text, which comprise of an advert and cartoon, as well as the textual editing. Right. So in paper 1, when we look at comprehension, there are a few areas of concern that we have noticed, especially in the trial exams, when learners are asked about the rhetorical question, right? It engages the readers about what, and you need to be specific and mention specifically from the passage what exactly is it engaging the readers on. For example, if the rhetorical question was, does the momentary pleasure of a cigarette outweigh a lifetime of ill health? Right? You know that the rhetorical question is engaging the reader and making the reader think about the negative impact or the adverse effects of smoking cigarettes. So, in order to get your 2 marks, you need to obviously speak about what the rhetorical question does, but also be specific as to what exactly is it making the reader think about. So you also get other types of questions in your comprehension. For example, define certain terms. And in these kind of questions, you do not need to feel like you don't know the answer, because the answer is in the passage. So basically, it's asking you, what does the writer mean in your own words? So you need to respond using your own words and give a definition using your own words in context, obviously. So learners, please do not feel intimidated by this paper. You do have the skills that you need to excel. Thirdly, we're looking at the tone questions. So for the tone questions, these questions are repetitive. And if you look at your past year papers, you will see that there is a pattern of questioning in paper 1, in the comprehension especially. And when we look at tone questions, you need to circle the words that show you how the writer feels, right? And provide evidence of the tone using the diction or the words that the writer has used in that particular paragraph, right? And then provide a comment. So what does this then imply, right? For example, if we said that against all odds, right, the learners managed to excel in their matric exam or in their English paper, right? What is the writer's tone here? The writer would obviously have a tone that is admiring or hopeful or uplifting, because they have managed to achieve something. Yes, so basically you have to support your tone using the words that the writer uses and quote, and then comment and say, what does this then imply? For the atmosphere or mood question, right, also you need to highlight the keywords showing atmosphere, right? And mood is basically how you feel having read those particular words, right? And I'm going to be moving on now to a question that most of the learners experience difficulty in, and that is the contrast or juxtaposition or paradox question. So these questions deal with opposing ideas, or they highlight differences in ideas. So in order to achieve your 3 marks, because it is a 3-mark question, you'll need to state the ideas and use a change word. In order to find the opposites, you'll need to look for that change word within the paragraph, right? And once you state the ideas and show how they oppose each other, right, you need to comment on what does the paradox or the juxtaposition then imply, right? So an example of opposing ideas could be an idea of wealth and an idea of poverty, right? So you need to look for these opposite ideas when you are faced with that juxtaposition or contrast or paradox question. Okay, now we will move on to the irony question. And when something is ironic, obviously you expect something to happen, but then the opposite happens. For example, if a robbery has taken place outside a police station, that situation is ironic because you expect a police station to be a place of safety, right? And not a place where crime is committed. So please just remember these little things when you are answering your comprehension. So the last question in the comprehension that I will be discussing with you is the comparative question, whereby the learners are asked to discuss the extent to which text B supports text paragraph 6 of text A, for example. And most of the time, learners just use the entire of text A and they compare the entire text A to the entire text B, whereas the question is quite specific. So you need to have a specific starter to make sure that your answer is streamlined according to what the question is asking. And by this we mean you will start by saying what paragraph 6 of text A deals with, right? And then talk about what text B speaks about, and then tell me whether they have something in common, right? Whether it supports the other text completely or it partially supports, right? And explain exactly why. So there may be something in text B that does not link up with text A, and it's okay for you to have a mixed response, right? And you should not feel intimidated. You should know these rules. The questions itself should not stump you. It's just searching for the answers in the comprehension, and once you have the tools and you know exactly what the questions are asking of you, that becomes a bit easier. Okay, so that wraps up the comprehension in paper 1, and now I think Sumaya, do you want to take us?
Tell me, a message came through. In comprehension, what are the common mistakes we make when the examiners are marking?
So when the examiners are marking, as I said, for that rhetorical question, more often than not, learners are only achieving 1 out of 2 marks because they are stating the function of the rhetorical question, but they are not being specific as to what is the function and what purpose is it serving in context of this passage. So that is one of the issues that the markers, have when marking that particular question.
Okay, and another one. Sometimes in stress, I tend to make spelling mistakes. What do you do? Mark us wrong or minus marks?
Well, if the question is based on spelling, so if they are asking you to correct a spelling error, then obviously incorrect spelling would be marked wrong. But if it's in the comprehension or even the visual literacy or the summary, right? Well, we do penalize for spelling errors in the summary because there is a language mark that is allocated. But in the other sections, spelling is not penalized.
Okay, so now you're going to go over paper 2.
I'll just briefly touch on the summary question in paper 1. So for the summary question, you need to highlight and identify the summary statement and then turn that into a question. So most of the time, the summary statement is in bold. And if it's not in bold, then you're gonna have to highlight that and basically look in that paragraph or that passage for the points that actually answer that summary statement. So if the point is relevant to the summary statement, or if it answers that question that you've made the statement into, then you will highlight that. And this is going to give you your 7 points that are needed for your summary. However, in English home language, point form is not accepted. So you need to then take those points, convert them into your own words, and write them as a fluent paragraph, right? And when we say convert into your own words, even if you change one word, you've converted the point into your own words. So therefore, I say, do not feel intimidated by the paper. Know what's required, know the rules, and you should be fine in that section, right? So I am going to be moving on to the visual literacy, particularly the advertising section, right? This is question 3 in paper 1. And to begin with, we need to consider the following important aspects when studying an advert, right? So you need to know who the target audience is. Who is the advert aimed at? Is it aimed at teenagers, parents, or professionals? Why? Why is the advert there? So you need to refer to the language and visuals and the product type. What is the purpose? What is the intention of the advertiser? Does the advertiser want to persuade, inform, or sell a product or create awareness, right? You need to engage with the advert and figure out these things when you are looking at the advert, right? And you need to know what words and phrases are used in this advert to make this advert appealing, right? Think of the ADA, acronym, and look for stylistic techniques to persuade the reader. Example, look for emotive language or rhetorical questions or repetition, onomatopoeia, idiomatic expressions, the use of the hyperbole, which is an exaggeration, right? And personal pronouns and so on. And also ask yourself, is this advert a serious advert? Is it an urgent advert? And what are some of the techniques that the advertiser uses, to persuade the target market to actually buy into that advert? All right. And we are going to be moving on to the second aspect of visual literacy, which is the cartoon, right? And you need to basically consider some of these important aspects in the cartoon. Like, for example, who are the characters? Where is the scene taking place? Look at the setting, look at the environment and the context of the cartoon. Look at each frame and ask yourself, who are the characters? What are they doing? What is their body language showing you? And what does this tell you about how they are feeling? And jot it down, right? Interrogate the comprehension, right? Jot it down in pencil as you are going through it, and identify what is happening in the situation. And how do you identify? You need to look at the visual and verbal clues, right? And look at the attitude. What is the attitude? And attitude is how is the character feeling, right? Look at the facial expressions and the body language. What is the message of this cartoon, right? And how is the message conveyed? Is it conveyed using irony, which is, as I said, when you expect something to happen but the opposite happens, right? Is it satirical, which is a broad umbrella term that consists of irony and puns and so on, right? With the intention of ridiculing, right, a particular group of people. For example, ridiculing politicians or ridiculing, teenagers. Is it an exaggeration or is it anti-climatic, right? Which means that throughout you've had this great expectation throughout the cartoon, but then in the end, right, it is not what you expected. Okay, so I think that basically covers visual literacy in a nutshell, right? Hopefully that was helpful. The final section in paper 1 is the language and editing section, Okay, and there are a few questions that learners are experiencing difficulty with. I think it's because learners have forgotten the rules, and you're not to blame for this as well, because the grade 12 curriculum is very demanding in a short space of time. So it's okay to go back and revise the rules. The questions in the editing section are also quite repetitive. You need to know concord, which is a subject-verb agreement. For example, you can't say amashle are outside, right? Because that is a singular subject and it's a plural verb. You'll have to say amashle is outside, right? But you can say the girls are outside because it's a plural subject with a plural verb, right? Another example would be the pages, right? The pages are held together by a staple as opposed to the pages is held together by a staple, right? Um, so these statements are there so that you can see the subject agrees with the verb. So a singular subject will have a singular verb and so on. Then you need to brush up on active and passive voice. Okay, this is also a repetitive question, and direct and indirect speech, and so on. I'm sure your teachers would have given you a breakdown of all the questions that may be asked in the editing section. So we're not going to spend too much of time on that. It is a 10-mark question, and I just want to emphasize on the fact that it is 10 marks. So you should not beat yourself up if you don't manage to get that 1 mark in the 10-mark question, right? Rather, try and make up for those marks in other papers, like paper 3, where it allows you flexibility to explore your creativity and to gain, more marks. Okay, so I think that wraps up paper 1.
Okay. Asif, I think we'll be taking a short ad break. Doing well. I was chatting with Musa on the phone.
Really?
I sent my network is quite big, so like all the schools around from Centenary, Overport Secondary, Ridge Park, Musa School, Sparks Estate, Meadows. Or like I just messaging also in Amlazi. I'm just messaging all the principals.
Yes,
I sent you the link, YouTube link.
Okay.
You can send it to your family.
I don't have my phone. Yeah. Well,
I send it to you.
Okay.
So I forward it to all of them.
Okay.
So they
But we will be able to see it at a later stage as well.
Yeah, it's on
So
YouTube. See, they're all sending me playing hands.
Oh.
I send it to all the SCMs, the
so sweet.
Shamasi,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's the first time I'm doing this.
No,
but
it's the first time
it's the first time for everything. Yeah.
I'm just telling Musa, you couldn't have chose anyone better.
Yeah. Oh, so sweet. So sweet. Yeah. So now I will look at. So how much time do we have left?
Huh?
How much time do we have left?
We finish at 8.
And what's the time now?
It's now 7:35.
Okay.
25 minutes.
Yeah, so you know what you do? Leave your phone.
Yeah.
Leave your phone on the table, so you kind of like know if you're like while talking, you can check the time.
Oh yes, of course. Because I don't.
And then like 2 minutes or so before you end, I'll just round it off.
Yes. Yes, I'll do that. So 7:35. Okay. That's fine. You know what? Paper 2 and 3 won't take me very long because I'm not going to be doing, everything. Because paper 2.
Which high school you went to?
I went to Tangat Secondary. I'm from Tangat. You know where's Tangat?
Yeah. Whereabouts?
Tangat Secondary. I'm
Okay.
from
Sandfields is also in
Street. Yeah, very close.
I know Ravendra. He was in Naptosa.
Yeah.
He's now the principal there, and his wife is in another school around there.
Okay.
Sandfield.
So yeah, why?
And you got still got family there?
Yeah, my dad is there. Okay. Yeah. So we go there quite often just to visit him. But I said I won't be long with paper 2 because each and every child, the children, they study different subjects.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing I'm just giving them, you know, like the basics as to
Yeah,
how to
that's
answer
fine.
the literature essay and so on.
But we have
Water.
Asif, what are you? Miss wants water.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We actually have a fridge with bottled water.
I don't know why. Like teachers cannot survive without water. We're only talking the whole day. Thank you.
See that one's empty.
Huh?
See that one novelty one.
Right. You see, the reason why it's empty is because people just come and they take however many and they go.
You're joking.
How long is the break?
Just now, they just got the last prayer. Yeah, but water is something you can't stop anymore. I know that. Especially when you're getting all free. You know that.
Brought to you by Simplex Radio, South Africa's leading
Going
retailer
back?
of appliances, car sound, and
Just
home
Gonna
theater
take
systems.
these few ads.
What's your first name?
Clean, comfortable
What, your
home
first name?
is every homeowner's
Neelam.
pride.
Oh, what a lovely name.
Thank you.
And what's your maiden surname?
Yet
Maharaj.
affordable quality brands.
Yeah.
Starlight.
So I
do you
went
know-
from
you
a
know
very
Nisha?
popular.
You know
Yes,
Nisha
yes,
Mara?
yes.
She came on show first. She
Oh,
teaches
nice.
kitchen mama lady.
With a wide
Okay.
range
She
of
was,
Yeah,
I brought
yeah.
her, she was here a couple of weeks ago. I was
Yeah,
marketing
yeah,
her
yeah.
drama stuff.
Pine
Garden
jars,
Road
bubble
Girls.
baths,
Oh,
and much
so
You know
more.
her?
Yeah,
House chemicals
her name
ensures
sounds
your
very
home
familiar.
remains
Her
But
husband used to
which
be
school
on
is she at?
Hindabani.
For sales
She goes
and
to
other
Garden Road
inquiries,
Girls.
call
Okay.
011
Yeah.
933
So I went from a very popular
4021.
surname. Now I'm
House
a
chemicals.
And not
very
family,
Clean
actual
your
and
home
stuff.
the way you want.
Yeah,
Marajas.
got family everywhere. All the Marajas are related
Yeah.
somehow or other.
And then lots of friends of mine, when they're getting married, the parents won't lie.
Yeah. That's the thing. What we're gonna do, but the thing is, like
Times
ultimately, times are changing now,
Especially in
and
Tamil, I got friends like
you mustn't have ego about that child. You know, like about the
You
caste.
know-
You know, that's the
you know,
whole
right
caste
now-
system.
right now, if your child
You're
brings,
listening to
if your male child brings you're going on.
No.
If a male child brings a girl home, and if a girl brings a boy home, that's good enough, Asif. That's good enough. Regardless of, this is my thing, regardless of what, because the way times are going, it's shocking.
craving for an easy,
It
spicy,
is.
and
I have
delicious meal made in
educators in
minutes?
school,
Introducing
high school
Easy
especially.
Migolen,
They
Korean
say the
style
lesbian
instant
thing
noodles
is
for
like
noodle king. This
out of
delicious,
control.
flavorful noodles is ready in minutes. With a
Terrible.
kick
And
in
both
Does it
ways.
usually happen in like all girls
at a
schools?
retail
No,
store.
not only all girls.
Not only all girls.
It's like a new thing, and you know who's
become
promoting?
like a trend.
You know who's promoting it? Netflix.
At your favorite retail
Yeah,
stores.
because of the thing,
Yeah.
series and whatever.
Yeah, all these series, all this stuff. It's like a norm. If you watch any European, forget USA, any European program, whether it's a movie or series, Europe, Holland,
Home,
they-
like,
they promote it. They promote it like it's nothing. Like,
like literally almost every Netflix series now has
yeah.
something.
And they as young as 14 years old, and they lesbian or they gay. And I watched something. When was it? I was watching something. What series was it?
We're actually going on now.
Okay.
You're listening to School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome back to School Matters. As you're aware, our grade 12 learners, the class of 2025, will be writing their final exams in about 7 days' time. 7 days' time. And as tradition goes, we continue with our special edition of programs dedicated to and for our grade 12 learners. Well, today we're going over the English with Neela. What a beautiful name.
Oh, thank
Right.
you.
So she did paper one. You did paper one.
Yes, I did paper one. Now
now?
moving on to paper two.
Okay. So we're going to continue.
Okay, so listeners, and especially our class of 2025, those who are tuned in, we are now looking at paper two, which is the literature paper. It comprises of poetry as well as your set books, which is your drama and your novel, right? And I'm just going to go through some of the challenges that we've witnessed while marking the trial paper. So because this is a very specific paper and learners are doing the various different texts, we are not going to go into the details of the text, but rather how to respond to questions, particularly the essay questions. So I'm going to start off by saying that paper 2 is a very time-sensitive paper as well, because it is lengthy and you're only given 2.5 hours to answer the paper. And they are very specific requirements. For example, they will give you 4 prescribed poems, of which you are to choose 2, and the unseen poem is compulsory. So in the poetry section, you will answer 3 poems in total, which will be out of 30 marks. Okay, so we are going to be looking at the essay question, the poetry essay specifically. The poetry essay is nothing to be intimidated by, because the rubric is a very fair rubric, and it is very kind to our learners. It's very difficult to actually fail the poetry essay. So if you are brave enough, you should actually attempt the poetry essay. Even if you're not brave enough, even if you just retell what's in the poem, you will not fail that poetry essay. But what we've noticed is that learners are giving us brilliant essays. They are understanding the question, but their essays are not well structured. So you need to have a structure. You need to have an introduction, and in your introduction, so I'm going to give you an example of a poetry essay question. So in The Shipwreck, right, the poet examines how people are at the mercy of nature. Discuss this statement with close reference to diction, imagery, and tone. So you need to have an introduction where you introduce the poet, you introduce the poem, and you also introduce the thesis statement, so that people are vulnerable to nature. You have to say in the poem by Emily Dickinson, right, The Shipwreck, people at the are very vulnerable to nature. And then you need to also discuss what this essay will explore. So this essay will explore how Emily achieves this by looking at imagery, diction, and tone. And you need to have your discussion in specific paragraphs. So for example, if you're discussing imagery, discuss your imagery in one paragraph. And imagery refers to how vivid pictures are created, right? And sensory pictures are created. For example, the spinning upon the shoals creates a tone of chaos or sorrow, right? So you'll have to divide imagery, tone, and diction into separate paragraphs, and make sure at the end you are linking it back to the question. And finally, you need to have a conclusion, and in the conclusion, you will not include any new ideas, but basically you will restate that thesis statement and state how your imagery, diction, and tone has proven that. So make sure you have a structure for your poetry essay, right? And we are now going to look at our literature essay, the academic essay, essay based on perhaps your novel, right? So I'm just going to use an example of an essay from Life of Pi, right? So in Life of Pi, storytelling is not just a coping mechanism, but a transformative force that allows Pi to survive, right? So in order to answer this essay, again, you need to have a structure, right? You need to have an introduction whereby you introduce the novelist as well as the name of the novel, right? And your thesis statement, and also introduce what are you going to be proving, right? And what arguments are you going to use to prove this? Okay, so After you're done with your introduction, you'll move on to paragraph 1. And in your body paragraphs, you will be using a specific method. I'm sure your teachers would have discussed that with you. It's the peel method, whereby you state a point, you provide evidence, and follow it with explanation and a link. So, for example, your point may be that storytelling becomes Pi's primary means of enduring the emotional and psychological uh, ordeal at sea that he had experienced. Okay, then you provide evidence. For example, when he was questioned by the Japanese investigators, Pai recounts two versions of survival, one featuring the animals and the other showing brutal human acts. He asks, which is the better story? Is it the story with the animals or the story without the animals? So that's your evidence, right? Evidence from the text to prove the point that you have stated. And then you go on to explain what this means. So your explanation will go something like this. The fictional version of the story allows Pi to make sense of the horrific events that he experienced without being consumed by hopelessness or despair. Um, him inventing Richard Parker as an alter ego allows him to illustrate his violent instincts while maintaining his moral innocence. And it is through story that he keeps his despair and fear and madness at bay. And finally, at the end of the paragraph, you link it back to the thesis statement in the question and say, thus, storytelling preserves Pi's psychological well being and enables him to process trauma with imaginative grace, making it central to his survival. Because remember, the question was telling you that, or saying to you that in Life of Pi, storytelling is not just a coping mechanism, but a transformative force that allows Pi to survive. So your argument must show us the extent to which you agree with that statement. Okay, and you will proceed with the remaining body paragraphs in the same way. And finally, you will have a conclusion whereby you restate your thesis statement, you state the arguments that you've used to prove the statement to be true, or the extent to which the statement is true. You can provide a mixed response. You don't always have to agree and say to a great extent, right? Provided you have proof and evidence of all your points and all your arguments. Right. So that concludes paper 2.
Okay. You know, talking about the life of Pi, asked our technician, he's saying, "Oh, that's like a traditional book novel.
Yeah.
We always
Yes.
are doing it. It's like it's not
Yes.
dying. It's just going on and on." Tell me, how often do the novels change, or it's up to the school to decide?
It's up to the school to decide. From the time I've started teaching, we have been teaching Life of Pi as the novel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess ultimately it's up to the school to decide, and if the district decides for us,
Okay.
then we just
So
have to
there's
go
like
with
quite
it.
a few
Yes.
books which are being mentioned in the exam paper. You choose the one you have.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can continue with paper 3.
Okay, so the last paper we'll be looking at is paper 3, which is your creative writing paper. I'm sure you have already gone through the various essay types, namely the narrative essay, which is basically telling a story, and it needs to have like an introduction, characters, right, a rising action, a climax, falling action, and a conclusion, right? Just like any story would have, or any movie would have, for that matter. I'm not going to go into too much of detail because you probably did this with your teachers, and I'm just going to tell you in a nutshell what the various types of essays are. So you have the reflective essay, whereby you reflect on a situation or an incident that may have happened in the past, right? You have a descriptive, where you can describe a situation, or you can describe an event, or anything that is asked in the question. You can describe and just allow your creativity to flow. Paint pictures with your words. Use descriptive language, for example, powerful adjectives and adverbs to enhance your writing. But we feel like the learners are experiencing challenges in the second section, which is the transactional writing section. So if I look at some of the challenges that learners are experiencing, it is that they are not prepared enough for the transactional in terms of knowing the format, right? So you need to know the format of the text that you choose. Now you'll be given a variety of topics to choose from, and you need to choose the one that you can do the best. So choose the type of text that you are familiar with. If the topic seems vague, it might be more difficult for you to approach. If you know how to structure that particular topic, then that would be the better option for you. So I always advise my students that when they receive the topics, they better off taking which ones they resonate with first, so that they can make the best choice, right? And put a cross next to the questions where they cannot answer, or they know that they don't know as much about that topic as they know about others. So that is one of the tips that I can give you when it comes to your transactional writing. Your formal writing, you need to know the formats of your formal letters. You need to know the difference between a formal letter and a letter to the editor. The audience is obviously different, and just go through your guides that you have for transactional writing. Go through your formats, and understand the purpose and the audience to whom you are writing. Also, you can make you should make sure that you are using the correct register and the correct style. So if it's a formal piece of writing, make sure you're not using contractions, and you're writing in a formal way. Know that you are not talking to your friend, but you are talking to a person of authority, right? So yeah, that is what I have to share in terms of the tips for approaching paper 1, 2, and 3. But before I part with you all, I just want to share a quote that my husband constantly reminds me of, because when I was in my infancy of teaching, I remember I had stuck this quote on the cover of my teacher's file. And it goes something like this: we must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, by Jim Rohn. And I think that this quote is so important, especially for our matriculants that are heading into their exam, because the quote translates to which pain has a more lasting impact. And the answer is that both pains have a lasting impact. The difference is that regret has a lasting negative impact, as you cannot rewind the clock. But discipline is a temporary hardship that leads to growth and satisfaction. So with that, I'd like to tell the class of 2025 that you are equipped with all the tools on your fingertips. The only hurdle that is stopping you from achieving your dreams is your own self and your own self-confidence. Because if you are not confident to approach this paper, already you are telling yourself that you cannot do it. You need to tell yourself that you know this, you can do this, and you will be successful.
Thank you
Good
so much. I feel so motivated listening to this. And you know what? I'd like to thank you, Anilam, for coming here all the way from Yellowwood Park. I know it was like storming on
Yes,
a whole
yes,
day. It
yes,
was like, wow, the
yes,
weather just changed. And
yes.
I know it's quite stressful for matric teachers because, like, you'll need to produce the results. And it's like you forget the parent or the learner. It's the teachers are actually writing an exam. So may its stress levels be low. May you also take care of your health and your diet. And also, I know you're definitely giving it your best. So, inshallah, hopefully, once when results are released, you're definitely coming on board. And we'd like to know what was the outcome.
Yes, I'm looking forward to a very positive outcome because we do work with our learners, and I just want to wish the class of 2025 all the very best. And I think this is coming from the entire English department at MOWAT Park, as well as me being a member of the Mlazi district. I would like to convey my well wishes to the class of 2025 in their preparation towards their NSC
Well,
exam.
Director, Mrs. MCM Shelby, who came on and did a presentation for all the schools in the Mlazi district. We had the top learners, so hopefully your school will be included this year. A big thank you to our guests for taking us to grade 12 in the papers. We hope you found it helpful. For those of you getting ready to write points, wishing all our matrix the very best of luck. You've got this. Stay tuned right here every Tuesday for more support and inspiration. It's so thank you to our bubbly, amazing participation person who is making this show possible. And she wants to just suit our show. To all our matric learners, remember this is your moment. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do constantly. Don't count days, make days count. And don't forget to catch me tomorrow for a brand new show from 6 to 7 p.m. for our brand new listeners. For you, the show is with frequency from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. For me, Sumaya Khan, wishing you all the best in your final exam. Interrupt. Very, very well.
Thank you.
Very, very well. You did good. First time, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Why? I'm sure you're
We're having a conversation.
Exactly.
No,
You're